Hey everyone, welcome back. This is Tyler Aquarius, and I'm chatting with Joy Voigt, the author of Foxwoman Dreaming, this lovely new book that is out and available now. In the second part of this interview, we're really going to dive into some of the characters that you've created in this novel. So, on that note, who is your main character? Who is Sybil?
Mhm. Oh, Sybil. Sybil, I have a crush on Sybil.
I do too, a little bit.
Really? Oh yeah, I'm
Yeah,
nosy.
yeah, yeah.
She's a badass, and I really like that about her. Well, Sybil is so her role at the beginning of the story is that she's a dream maker, and what that is there's a company that basically fabricates dreams that get consumed by the people of the society, this make believe society, called the consumers. And she's just very peculiar. She's a very peculiar person. Like when she's described by anyone at the beginning of the story, she's like always described as feral. I think that's the best way to describe her. Like, she's trying to do the normal thing, and maybe this is one of us, where you're like, yeah, I'm trying to do the human thing, but actually deep down somewhere inside you there's like this wild side. And that's Sybil. She's just a wild creature. And she can be, she can present herself as a normal human being, and wear clothes and all these things, but deep down, like, she's a rambunctious naked wild child. And it's not that that's her. It's like that's our voice. That's the wild side within us. I think Sybil is an archetypal character that embodies both our deeply human domesticated side and also our deeply wild forest creature that lives inside all of us. So that's Sybil. I love her. She makes me happy.
Yeah. I'd imagine that there's a fair amount of joy in Sybil as well, a fair amount of you.
No, there's no.
Just a little.
What are you saying? Yes, of course.
Yeah,
Anyway.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think, and I don't know if this is true for most people who write, but I think you put part of yourself in a book. I don't know if that's a good idea or not. Or, you're kind of playing God a little bit with your characters. But yeah, Sybil definitely. Yeah, I have a crush on her because I have a crush on my soul. So.
Yeah. I love that. And throughout the course of the book, Sybil undergoes quite a metamorphosis, quite a change. I'm wondering what it was like to write a character that's in that process of discovery and change. I think a lot of times in this genre, specifically in science and fantasy, you have this hero figure who is very kind of maybe settled, maybe not, but moving through the course of the plot and handling all the challenges and sometimes they have a transformation. I think in the best novels they have a transformation, and sometimes they don't. But this is definitely the story of a woman in transformation. So what was that like to be discovering a character that's also changing?
Mm, yeah, I love that question. It's such a meta question, right? Um, well, I think I was saying in part one of our interview, that there was something in me that wrote the book up until basically she meets this mutative character that shifts her. Um, and I think, speaking again of this autobiographical aspect of writing a fiction story that's really about really a lot of me learning about life through this character was that naivete, which I can say that's me, this naivete that's kind of wide-eyed and just saying like, oh, okay, I'll take everything in, I'll take everything in, without a strong sense of discernment and almost this childlike wonder. Even though she's a semi-adult woman, she's probably in her 20s, something like that, there's something still in her that hasn't like stood inside herself and said, oh, I am clear about where I'm going, who I am, and what I'm doing in this world. There's still like I would even say like a jellyfish aspect to her, or like a very open to osmosis. She's not clear about who she is, and I think part of her transformation is also part of my own transformation of like being that person, very very naive, very open, very like heart centric and all these different things, but then all of a sudden being like, you know what, I think I have to find my own voice. I think I have to understand what it means to be an individual, you know, individuate from society's norms, from the family of origin, which is not a bad thing. I think we all have this process of like discovering who we are. So I think Sybil's process is from being a naive person to a person who understands who she is as a human being. And I mean, that's basically the journey I'm on. And so that's why I really loved writing it, because I learned a lot about what it means to listen, you know, and that's, it's one of my passions, listening. What does it mean to listen, you know?
Yeah, yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like writing the book also and writing Sybil in specifically also changed you, like invited you onto sort of a transformative process as well.
Yeah. Yeah. It's,
Yeah,
we're so
that's
lucky
great.
to get to create, right? Like,
Yeah,
it's amazing that we get touched by creativity, because it's like, it's a boon, I think, for anyone who gets to have any creative process, be it, you know, write a little tiny thing that you put on your fridge, it doesn't matter, but to get to explore yourself through a creative process and learn about yourself through creating. I mean, how holy is that, you know? So I think,
yeah,
yeah, I feel really lucky that this book visited me, because I learned so deeply about myself through it, for sure. I'm a different person. I mean,
yeah.
I got the book tattooed, like this is a fox, you know. I don't know if you can see that, but I
Yes, I love that. It's gorgeous.
thank you. I got it tattooed because I was like, oh my gosh, this book was for me to learn, you know, a lot. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Mm.
Is there, would you say that there's an antagonist to the book or a villain?
Mm. Yeah. So I was also saying part one, I got the opportunity to have midwife Jonathan back, who's this amazing man, my editor. And he's so graceful. He gave me hours of his time. We would sit down together and talk about the book. And he before I finished writing the book, he was like, well, there should be an antagonist. Who's the enemy? You know, who's this, in a very Joseph Campbell kind of story of like the hero's journey and the antagonist. And you know, that's what we're going to explore. I was like, you know, actually, honestly, that's exactly the opposite of what I want. I actually deeply want this to not be a hero's journey where there's an antagonistic force that's separate from the character with whom she has to have like this quarrel. She overcomes that enemy, and then wow, she is victorious. You know, it's a beautiful story. I think I'm not opposed to that, but I definitely did not want to follow that arc. And so what was important to me, and maybe some readers will get this and maybe some readers won't, and that's fine, but it was really important for me that Walt, who's this who's actually the company's like the director of the company, um, I wanted it to be very clear that he created this dystopian reality out of a really good wish to benefit others. Like he's actually a rescuer. That's his role really. He wanted to liberate other people from suffering, and so he extracts people's subconscious and people's darkness and leaves them with just about this much goodness, you know. And it's an exploration of what happens when we only, when our rescuing means that we don't incorporate all of our human parts, you know, the rescuing only as the la-di-da and the unicorns and the rainbows, but without seeing like, whoa, you know, we all are human beings and we've got our murky bits, you know. So the antagonist per se, he has a good wish. He's a very good-willed person, and he wants to love other people, and the way that he loves is by butchering parts off of him, you know. And without giving too much away about this particular meta theme in the book, Sybil has one point where she is like, she says, "Oh, Walt is the enemy. You know, Walt created this reality. Therefore, I must go back and eliminate him." You know, and the point is that that's not the solution. She's actually becoming a rescuer herself. You know, so she in a in let's say mirrored experience, she's actually trying to do exactly what Walt did in the beginning. You know, and so in a way she has the same mind as Walt. She has the same exact volition that inspired Walt to become the antagonist that appears in the book. And it's really a meta reflection about us. Like sometimes we want to, you know, say that's the enemy without saying, oh my gosh, that actually lives inside me. that's me, and that was the meta reflection that I really wanted. And that's why I don't want there to be an antagonist, and I don't want there to be a rescue story at the end. Like, I don't want Sybil to come back victorious, with a victory banner and say like slay the enemy, Actually, I want her to come back and realize, oh, the process is in here, and that's one of the themes. I'm not saying it's the theme for everyone, and I think sometimes we do have to say like, oh, there's an antagonist, I need to do something about it. Oh, you froze a little bit. But in particular, this story, I wanted to explore the antagonist lives inside us, so, yeah.
Yeah, my experience reading the novel was that I was identifying all of these things that were wrong with Walt, or all of these things I didn't like about Walt, or that honestly triggered me about Walt and the decisions that were being made by the company.
Mm.
And it's so interesting that over the course of the novel, I found myself challenging my own projections that I was making as a reader about these characters. And the way that you handled these characters is so deft, because I didn't even realize that it was that I was really being guided to make some of those same conclusions that you're talking about, as far as really identifying those murky parts of your own self that then you see in other people. And there's a particularly visceral scene involving Walt towards the end of the novel that really I just thought it was masterful, and inspired a lot of compassion, not just for Walt, but for anyone who is kind of embodying that archetype in our world, in our personal lives. There's just an incredible amount of compassion in your treatment of someone who might be identified, especially towards the beginning of the book, as the antagonist. So I appreciated that a lot.
Oh, well, I mean, that speaks amazingly about you, because I think it's very easy to go black and white, and I think
Mm.
it's easier to categorize like, this is the enemy, this is the hero, and I think that's a very easy way to read, because I think we all want to identify with the hero to some extent. Sometimes, we're just like kind of kooky and we love identifying with the antagonist. That's cool.
Yeah, sure, sure, sure.
I think, we tend to identify with the hero and be like, okay, what are the heroic aspects? So I really I think that speaks to your, willingness to not be so dual, which is, I think, a big part that I'm trying to say is like, that duality might limit us from being able to see other people and their own qualities, or their own intentions, perhaps, that may be.
Yeah.
Out of curiosity, I'm just curious, what was triggering about Walt at the beginning? I'm just curious what you were projecting.
Oh, I just have so many issues with authority figures. It's so deep. It's so deep. And I mean, even just the company, just any company, any corporation. I'm a radical Aquarius over here, just absolutely triggered by anyone that tells me what to do. So yeah, it was very broad, the the triggering, but very deep. uh,
I love it.
what can I say?
I love
Yeah,
it.
I mean, just as authors, write themselves inevitably into the novel that they create. As readers, we write ourselves in these novels as well. It's part of why we love to read so much. Like, a piece of us enters that story and is deeply affected by the actions of the characters.
Yeah, yeah, true, true, true,
Yeah.
true. Yeah.
So on that note of entering a story, entering a place, um, where does Foxwoman Dreaming take place, and how do you feel that informs the text itself?
Mm. Well, there's um, two places in the book, and I really wanted to make it that way. Uh, there's the city itself and the company itself, which is gray and just very non-alive. Like, everything is square and gray walls and very what's the word I'm looking, aseptic, or aseptic. Yes, that's the word I'm looking for. So it's just very clean, and then there's this other world, which is this dream forest land, which is literally like teeming with life. Like I wanted the languaging around the forest to be like like it was like as if you were inside a pot of life, you know. And I wanted the forest to be verdant and alive and like just so full of life. And I really did want them to be two different realities because I wanted it to be kind of like that idea, you know. Even the cover, which I asked my friend to make, such a beautiful cover. He really got what I was imagining. He's like, yeah, yeah, oh gosh, he really got it.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. I also highly recommend when people order the book, I'm always gonna say get the physical copy, but this book in particular is just beautiful to own as a physical object. So,
That's my friend Mariano Ruiz. That's his name, a Mexican artist. He's incredible. And he really got it. He like the two parts, you know, of like the very civilized Sybil, naive and dream maker, and this other side of her that's just like, what the heck is that? You know, in the box. It's a wild,
yeah.
you know. So these two places, I really wanted it to be like two very clear. I thought a lot about like narrator and place and time, though those were important elements. I wanted everything to be cohesive in that creation of these two worlds. So place was also very important, and I created two different locations, and then how they basically blend in through the dream realm. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and you're talking about the narrator, the space, and the time. I want to talk a little bit about the time, 'cause a lot of the book sort of takes place in this liminal, timeless dream space.
Mhm.
Um, what were you thinking about as in regards to time as you wrote this novel?
Yeah, you know, that's hard with sci-fi, isn't it? I mean, it is
Yeah,
a sci-fi novel in some ways. So is it 50 years from now? Maybe. Is it like 10 years from now? Is it actually right now? Maybe. You know, it's like sci-fi, I think liminal is a really good word. It's like it is liminal. I think sci-fi has this quality of being atemporal so that then it can be inserted in different times. Like I had one,
yes, yeah,
yeah, like it's very 1984 sometimes, you know. In 1984 it says a year, but you could place it anywhere in time.
yeah,
Time could be now,
yeah,
it could be at any time. So I was kind of playing with that concept of it being some kind of hazy time that could be inserted into any moment, because it is also a critique in some ways of totalitarian ideology, you know, that like how one idea, if taken to the extreme and imposed upon everyone, what that does, you know. So I also wanted to explore that in the book, and that's happened many times in human history. So
yeah. It's timeless. I mean, it's always been around, probably always will in the psyche.
yeah,
Yeah,
gotta discover our own little totalitarian rulers inside our psyche, you know. Dang.
that's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I love it. Um, I also want to talk. We have to talk about animals. We have to talk about the animal symbolism. Obviously, it's in the title. Um, Animals play a big role in this story. So if you can speak to that, and also just, I know that you're an animal lover. If you could speak a little bit about what animals mean to you, not just as a writer, but as a human.
Oh, I love animals. Like little side note, whenever I'm not doing stuff, I'll like watch animal videos. That's
Yeah.
my
That's the best part of the internet right there.
yes, yes, oh yes. Animals. So there's two things I want to share. One is oh, it's just animals are so deep. I mean, I chose the animal to also connect with the animal body, the wild part of our being. You know, that part that isn't civilized. So the animal as symbol functions as a connection to the wild side. You know, and it is a fox because the foxes. I mean, the symbolism of foxes are to drool over. You know, they one of the ways that they hunt is actually they smell and they hear underground. So they've got this quality of being able to hear what is under the surface, you know. And I wanted that to be a symbol of Sybil. Like she's actually listening to what's below the surface, and they've got these ears that are going up. They're actually connecting to something that's below the earth. So it's one of the reasons why I chose the fox as a symbol. Because
Wow, I didn't know that at all.
have you
That's
never met
incredible.
them? Yeah, yeah, they hunt underground. I mean, they also hunt above ground, but that's
Sure.
also one of their qualities. You know, so that was an important part of why it's a fox. Um, and then animals are all over the book, as they're like, in particular there's the 3 days when Sybil is with Tiresias. There's 3 different days and there's 3 different animals that are there. One, for example, is the crow, and the crow symbolizes death, and it's the moment where Sybil is about to die from her old version, like the old version of herself is about to change and transform. So there's a crow flapping above, and if the reader doesn't get that, that's totally fine. It's like those little hidden gems that it's like, oh, I know what I'm gonna put in there. There's a crow. You know? Another example is there's the sky is changing colors, and there's a butterfly in the moment when she's about to like have her metamorphosis and really complete who she is, and there's a butterfly flying in there. So there's a lot of little symbols in there. The goby fish, which is Tiresias, is fish, is actually a fish that is, I want to make sure that I've got this right. I'm pretty sure they start as females, and then when their population is starting to go down, one of them will basically sacrifice themselves, turn into a male, and then to have babies. So
Wow.
the goby fish is a character, is a fish that's been both female and male, which Tiresias is this character who's both female and male, non identifiable in the duality of like woman man. So goby fish is also really important in its like multiple facets, and not just being like a female fish, a male fish. So every animal that's in there is like specifically chosen. I nerded out. I loved it.
I'm glad that you bring that up, about the things that you kind of sneak into a novel that are really for you first and foremost, regardless of whether the reader is gonna get it. I've had the same experience specifically writing fiction, where it's like you write these little echoes maybe of something else that you read, or it's almost like an Easter egg, like an inside joke
Yeah, yeah,
of sorts.
totally.
But yeah, that's amazing about the animals.
Yeah, it's like the wink, the inner wink.
Yeah, yeah. Do you live with any animals now?
I unfortunately don't. I'm in this particular situation where I don't, but I do love animals very much, and I think that the last thing I'll say about animals is that part of all of the sales of this book are going to Rooster House, which is this amazing organization in Washington. My friend Jenny has it, and she's a rock star of a human being. Like she is living a life of compassion, and I want to support her for the rest of my life. That's one of the things that I want to do. So part of all of the sales are actually going to helping roosters and helping animals that are really, well, we won't get too deep into that, but really they would benefit
Yeah,
from some money, and from care. And so yeah, part of the sales go to them and go to Jenny, her work. So I want
amazing.
animals.
Rooster House, you heard it here. Yeah,
Roosters, yeah.
I love it. I love it. Um, how did the title come about? Was that something that you thought of as you were writing the novel, or was it after you finished? Like, oh, I need to think of a title now, or how did it come to you?
Mm. The title originally was Dream Makers, and it never like struck a chord to me. I was like, meh, stand in title. So the last story that's in the book is actually an old story that was told. I heard it from Martin Shaw, who's just this incredible storyteller, and it's called the woman and the woman and the hunter. I think that's what he calls it. It's another one of those fairy tales that has just come down over the years. And in part of the story, there's a fox woman, a spirit fox, who's basically inhabited a hunter's lodge. And when the hunter looks at her, in his subconscious, he realizes, oh, this is fox woman dreaming, which is a very cryptic thing to say, like fox woman dreaming. What does that even mean exactly? And I wanted it to be that kind of title where it's like you can almost touch it, because the mind wants to touch it says, I think I understand, but it still stays in that mystical place where words can sometimes live.
Hmm.
You're alluding to something and it touches your heart, but you don't know, you can't say, I know exactly what that is, So I wanted the title to kind of be also a liminal title where like who's dreaming what, and is it the woman, is it the fox, who's dreaming who, and so that's where the name of the book came in. And when I was
Yeah.
like, oh, that's the title, I was like, oh yeah, that's the title. Okay, great. Yeah.
It's very evocative. It's really, it's the right title, I think. I think you found it. Um, so we're almost out of time, but I did want to ask, as people read this novel, what do you hope that they take from it? As they read it, after they're finished with it, is there some seed or some yeah, I guess is there a seed that you're hoping to plant in people that read it?
Man, that's a tough question. I think it's a tough question because it's been out now for 2 months, and I am very lucky to receive messages from folks. Like I'm really grateful that anybody even reads it. Like how kind, how kind. I'm humbled by that. I really want to say that. It's very humbling to be received. It's totally daunting. Sometimes I get very like, oh dear. And then I remember it's not mine, and then it's like, oh, okay, great. But yeah, I'm really grateful to receive feedback. And the feedback that I receive is always like all over the place. Like it's literally all over the place. I'll be someone will give me their understanding of the book, and they'll be like, one version, and then someone else will tell me, oh, I got this from the book, and someone else will tell me like I got this, and I'll be like, amazing, like literally I hadn't even thought of that. So really I think it's one of those things where, as I said in part one of our interview, it's like we get graced by creativity, we like become so hollow that something comes through, and then I think there is a part that just needs to say, this is now no longer mine, like this belongs to someone else. So I hear your question, and of course I have some intentions, but I don't think that really matters. Like
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know if it really matters what I want someone else to get out of the book. I think it's like it has. I've been lucky enough to midwife it, to hold it close to me, to my bosom, to like watch it and nurture it, watch it be birthed, and then literally it goes out into the world, and it will do whatever it will do in its weird ways.
Yeah, yeah.
Each of us is a universe.
That's right. That's right.
No
Well,
one.
and it's also I feel like I have to say it's fun. It's a fun book to read. It's entertaining, and I specifically appreciate the ways in which you have broken up the chapters. It's very it makes for a very easy read. Obviously in the course of this interview, we're talking about all these very deep aspects of the novel, the ways in which it works on you. Um, but I also want to note that it is an entertaining book to read. It's a lot of fun, and it's easy. I mean, I blazed through it in a couple days. I think most people probably will want to read it quickly,
Mm.
and potentially reread it as well. So you've really done something amazing here. So just want to say thank you so much for doing this interview. Where can people find the novel? Where can they get it?
Mhm. So it's on Amazon, Fox Woman Dreaming, and you can find it on Amazon, which is easy to find. I've also got a website, and I'll add that to the footnotes or on the poster wherever I end up putting this. Mandalasproject.com. That's the shop. You can find all kinds of stuff there. There's also, there's that novel. There's a poetry book. I've got some cookbooks on there. Some prints, music, actually, some music with you.
Yes.
There's also going to be a whole bunch more stuff. Like this year is there's so many things coming down the line. Holy macaroni. There's like I'm working with so many people. This is so fun because I think I've been highly introverted while writing, and now I have just this collaborative energy. So there's going to be prints with some artist friends of mine who are amazing, and this writing journal that I was talking about, that's coming out in a couple months. So you can go on the shop there and find whole bunch of other stuff that we'll be doing. So yay!
Incredible. I love it. So Amazon.com or mandalasproject.com. You can get Fox Woman Dreaming. Again, I highly recommend the physical copy, but it's also available as an ebook if that interests you. Joy, it's been such a pleasure.
Oh my
As always, I really appreciate this interview, and everyone watching, I really hope that you'll enjoy Fox Woman Dreaming by Joy Voigt.
thank you so
Peace.
much. Love you, Tyler. Thank you.
Love you too.